Hey everyone, Ryan Young, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. Hope you're doing well. You know, being Texan is, not only a location thing, but it's also a mindset. And that's where the whole Jiu-Jitsu mindset comes in. So I'm going to go over something with you today about risk and taking risks. But first, let me kind of go over what we are, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. We are a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu school. We're part of the Hickson Gracie team, and KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu is run by Master Dave Kama, one of the Dirty Dozen and one of the early Hickson Gracie American black belts. And we've got locations in Irvine, California, in Flower Mound, Texas, which is Dallas-Fort Worth, and in Austin, Texas. Come on by if you want to check it out. Come on by if you want to say hi. We'd love to have you over. Anyway, taking risks. Now, first of all, what is a risk? A risk is something that can potentially harm you, right? Through some kind of danger or what have you. Now, risk taking is actively seeking risk, or maybe not so much seeking it, but more managing it and doing your evaluation and then going through with it, with the activity that is potentially dangerous. For instance, we take risks every day by driving to work, right? Because driving is among the more hazardous things you can do in life, believe it or not. And there are all kinds of risks. You can have financial risks, meaning you start speculating, or you go to a casino and you start gambling. Although it's not really risky for the casino side, it's risky for our side. Buying an insurance policy, right? If you buy life insurance, what you're doing is you're selling your risk off to an insurance company for a premium, right? They're actually going to pay you. They're going to take your risk, and you're going to give them a premium, and they're going to say, okay, we'll take your risk on and we'll insure your life. That's one way. That's another type of risk. And the risk that I want to go over with you has to do with risk taking in life and how it affects jiu-jitsu. One of the things that we kind of think about from time to time is, what do I need to do to earn a black belt? If you think about a black belt, the old saying that Hickson had said, that I've mentioned a couple of times in a video, can the average person ever earn a black belt? And the answer purportedly was no. The average person cannot earn a black belt, because a person who's a black belt is not an average person, right? So that being the case, you cannot have an average person earn an above average item, right? Or status or designation, whatever you want to call it, right? Because it's just a belt, right? You can buy a belt. But to be recognized as a black belt is a little different. Now, you have some people, I contend, who have earned their black belt just through time, not through effort, not through learning, not through achievement. They're timeline black belts, a little bit different, right? Because all you have to do is show up for class, So you've been to class more than the average person. Does that mean that you have better than average ability? No. But you're still a black belt nonetheless, right? So I'm talking about people who, like a Dave Kama, who had to fight to earn it, and had to get really good to earn the black belt. He's what we call earning the black belt versus having it given to him, right? Whenever a student thanks me for the belt, I say, don't thank me, because you earned it, right? I had no choice but to promote you because you earned that rank, and not through time. Like I tell people, we keep attendance, although I never know how many classes any of my students attend, because we don't keep track of that. It's really just for a scheduling kind of thing. But where does risk come in? To be that person who is above average, it doesn't matter if it's in jiu-jitsu, or if it's in business, or if it's in life, or if it's in relationships. You have to learn how to and be comfortable with taking risks. So in the jiu-jitsu vernacular, you're training with someone and you're very good at something, right? So if you watch that Jorge and Gracie interview that we just put up last week, by the time you see this, it might be a couple weeks ago, one of the things that I had mentioned to Jorge that I remember as a lesson that I use in jiu-jitsu and a lesson in life is that once you're good at something, you need to stop doing it for a period of time and do something else that you're bad at. So in his example, in the example that I gave to him, that I remember him saying was, we're in class one day, this was back in the early 90s, I was at his academy, and I was in his classes probably in the year 1992, maybe 93, because after that point he stopped teaching group classes. So it had to be between 92 and 93. we were training, and I was catching everybody in armbar, whether it be from the mount, whether it be from the side mount, whether it be from the knee and belly, whether it be from the guard. I was catching everybody in armbar, and in arm bars. I was not choking anyone. So that's when he noticed it, and he says, Ryan, you need to stop armbarring people, and you need to start choking people. And for me, it was, no, I like armbarring people because I can win that way. And his telling me, he didn't say in these words, but he said, take a risk, start choking people. And if you lose by trying to choke people, that's fine, but know that you could have beaten them with an armbar. So now that you know you can beat them with an armbar, try to beat them with a choke. So what happened? I ended up just choking people, choking, because I never forgot how to do arm bars. And that's what he told me. He says, put it in your back pocket, you'll never forget it. You know, when you need it, you can always pull it out and use it. So what I did was I just started choking people. Got to a point where my chokes got better than my arm bars. And my arm bars are pretty good. So that means I was choking too much. So then what would happen, what I told myself then was, okay, I need to stop choking so I can work on my other submissions, arm bars included. And you need to take that risk. You need to be willing to lose because it's a risk to lose. I mean, I'm going to risk losing, right? Whereas if I go for the arm bar, it's pretty low risk that I will lose. But if I go for the choke at that time, it's a high risk that I will lose. And most of us are afraid of risk. We don't like risk, right? We run away from pain, right? We will run away harder from pain than we will run toward pleasure, right? So given two choices, right? Either pleasure here or pain here, we will run away from the pain before we run to the pleasure. That's just how it is. It's part of our fight or flight mechanism in our, as they say, reptilian brain, right? And that's our instinct. So to be successful in jiu-jitsu, you have to fight your instincts constantly, right? You have to show up to a class that is tough, that's challenging. You have to show up to a class where you know that you could be injured at any time, right? We try to mitigate that injury as much as possible, meaning we try to make it so that you can train and get good before you get injured. Now, getting injured in jiu-jitsu is inevitable. There's no way you're going to avoid injury for so long. If you've been training for a number of years and haven't gotten injured, count your blessings. You're one of the exceptions and not the rule. What it also says is that give it time. You will get injured, right? Now, I'm not saying this to discourage you from jiu-jitsu. All I'm saying is that's a risk. That's a risk of training in jiu-jitsu is injury. The risk of injury, it's high. So you need to be able to deal with the risk just to show up for class every day. Now, once you're in class, now we know that you've gotten past that point. Now you have to risk loss so that you can get better in something that you're not that good at, right? Look at all these people that just play guard all the time. They just want to play guard. Why? Because they're good. They're comfortable in it. But get them to mount or let them play mount, all of a sudden their submissions aren't as good. So what do? They'll go and roll over on their back and play guard so they can get you there, right? Those people will never be good. They'll be good at guard, but you won't be good at everything. They'll have a one-dimensional game, right? And I do this only because one of my students, I say he's one-dimensional. And then he took it as a joke. He took it seriously, but it came back as a joke, because Ryan said I'm one-dimensional, right? You're probably laughing right now, Alex, aren't you? But anyway, take the risk. Don't be afraid of the risk. You need to embrace risk, just like you need to embrace being in uncomfortable positions. Success in jiu-jitsu has to do with being successful and comfortable in dealing with risk. So now let's kind of take that to our normal lives, right? And I've said this so many times. People who are successful in jiu-jitsu are successful in life, and vice versa. If you're successful in life, let's say you're an entrepreneur and you do very well, and you start taking jiu-jitsu, you'll become very good in jiu-jitsu as well. Chances are. Not all the time, but chances are. And the probabilities would suggest that. The reason is because in any aspect in life, you need to be where you are not comfortable. You need to seek what you're not good at, and you need to try to be good at it, right? You need to put stuff that you're good at in your back pocket and risk failure. Now, failure, is that a bad thing? Nope. We learn just as easily from doing something right than we do versus doing something wrong. And even better if you can see somebody else fail and you can benefit from their failure. And that's one of the ways that I learned in the corporate world. what to do in business and what not to do. A lot of it had to do with watching people around me fail. Oh shit! All right, I'm not going to do that. I learned from that, right? People who don't learn from others, they don't learn, right? You don't have to be told what to do. Just keep your eyes open and see what not to do, right? Okay, when I'm training with this guy, you see him. He goes for arms a lot, and he's really good at arm bars. So, first thing I'm going to do is not get caught in an arm bar. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to have myself put in a position of getting my arm locked, and I got to figure out how to get out, right? That's an uncomfortable spot. I don't want to be tapped, but I know that for me to get better and for me to level up, I need to get tapped. Now, people say, well, I just tap all the time. How do you get better? I just tap all the time. It's not quite that easy. You need to put yourself deliberately in a bad spot, and you need to fail so you can learn how to be better and how to get out, right? Okay, so I passed right. I should have passed left, right? Because every time I pass right, I get tapped or I get swept or something, right? So let me go left. That's how you learn, right? So another way to do it is, okay, if I pass right, I'm going to get beat. All right, what is he beating me with? Let me figure it out, which means you got to keep passing right. You got to get tapped. Okay, so now pass right, but don't put my arm here, right? So let's go pass right again. Put my arm here. Oh, it actually worked, right? I learned that from Dave, right? I'd be good at something, and I'd catch Dave on it, and then you'd see him kind of thinking about it, like, okay. So what does he do? He lets me have that position again. He took the risk so that he could try something different, just a little bit, and see what happens. If I catch him again, then he would ask himself probably, did he catch me easier or was it a little bit harder? If it's a little bit harder, he's heading in the right direction. So we'll go again, and he'll do a little bit more. Pretty soon, I'm not catching him, and now he's figured out how to beat me in that particular position. But in order to get there, he had to take the risk. If he didn't even get to that position again, then he never figured out how to beat me. And it makes sense, right? And I think like that too now, thanks to him. I didn't before, right? Before, if I knew you were good at triangles, I would do everything I could to avoid a triangle. Now, I know how to deal with triangles, so I don't get caught in them all that much. Once in a great while, I will get, but I have to learn from it. But I need to take the risk, right? I remember training with one particular black belt, and I kept giving him my arm and, just leaning in, take the triangle, because I was working on my triangle escapes because I wasn't super good at them. So he finally did set a triangle up on me, and I got out. I'm like, okay, good. Well, guess what? He refused to triangle me after that. If I were coaching him, I would be telling him, okay, you put the triangle on and it didn't work. Do it again, right? Do it again. Well, he's going to get out. Do it again. Take the risk, right? And the thing about jiu-jitsu and risk is that taking a risk in jiu-jitsu is harmless. Harmless because you tap me, right? I tap. I get out of it because I tapped, and we do it again. And we do it again, and we do it again until I figure out how to get out of it. That wasn't all that much risk, was it? On the other hand, you can go to Vegas and you can put it all on number 30, right? And then that roulette wheel spins and it lands on 29. You risked it all. That was a very bad risk. Of course, if you won, you would have gotten paid handsomely, but you didn't. You lost it all. And what if that was your last $100? And without that $100, your family would starve for the night. Well, that was a huge risk that you took, right? Whereas you train in jiu-jitsu, you give them your arm, you get tapped. Oh crap, right? Tap. Good job. Do it again. It wasn't that much of a risk because you have do-overs with jiu-jitsu. So if you want to be better in jiu-jitsu, learn how to take risks. Learn to be comfortable with risks. Learn how to be comfortable in bad positions. The more practiced you are at taking risks, the better you will be in general. Not only in jiu-jitsu, but in life. Anyway, that's all I got for you. I hope this helped you. Like I hope every video that we do for you helps. And if you have any other scenarios that I didn't cover, throw them down in the comments below. I'd love to see them, and I'd love to go back and forth and interact with you. I mean, that's a fun part of my day. That's all I got for you. Take care. Like and subscribe. Share if this was helpful to you. Happy training. Bye now.